My girlfriend thought it was hilarious to joke in front of her friends. If my ex texted me right now, I'd leave him in a heartbeat. They all laughed. I just smiled. That night, she received a text, but it wasn't from her ex. There's a kind of joke that isn't really a joke, it's a test. It's a little verbal trial balloon sent up to see what you'll accept and how much disrespect you're willing to tolerate with a forced smile. I'd been on the receiving end of those jokes from my girlfriend Sarah for almost a year, and the one she told last Friday night, surrounded by her laughing friends, was the last one I would endure. My name is Mike. I'm 32. I've always been the type who thinks things through. I like to have a plan and know what to expect next. Cause and effect, action and reaction, that's how I view the world. Sarah, who is 27, thrives in chaos. She's a whirlwind of social events, inside jokes, and constant drama. I thought we balanced each other out, but I now realize I wasn't a balance, I was the stable ground she stood on while she spun. A big part of her chaos revolved around her ex-boyfriend, a guy named David. Their relationship ended 3 years ago, but in Sarah's world, he was a ghost who was always present. His name came up constantly. David used to love this restaurant, or, this reminds me of a trip David and I took. It was a never-ending comparison, a subtle but constant reminder that I was occupying space he once did. I'm not a jealous person, but I'm analytical. The pattern was clear, she wasn't over him. I tried talking to her about it calmly and rationally once, and it resulted in a week of tears, accusations of being controlling, and her dramatically calling her friends to cry about how I didn't trust her. I learned my lesson, direct confrontation was pointless. It would only turn into a story where I was the villain. So, I did the only thing that made sense, I started making a plan of my own, a contingency plan just in case. Over the past few months, I quietly began preparing for the inevitable. I installed a small wide-angle security camera in our living room, pointing toward the front door. I told her it was for security, which wasn't a lie. I also bought a cheap burner phone and a prepaid SIM card, which I kept in my desk drawer. It was my emergency kit. I hoped I wouldn't have to use it. Last Friday night, the emergency arrived. We were at a local bar with a group of her friends for a birthday celebration. Sarah was a few drinks in and holding court, telling some loud, animated story. I was sitting next to her, nursing a beer, just trying to get through the night. That's when her friend Chloe mentioned him. I saw David the other day, Chloe said, a mischievous glint in her eye. He asked how you were doing, Sarah. Sarah's eyes lit up. Oh really? What did he look like? Does he have a new girlfriend? The conversation continued like that for a few minutes, a detailed analysis of a ghost. I just sat there in silence. Then Sarah, feeling bold and dramatic in front of her audience, looked around the table, then glanced at me with a smirk. You know, she said, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear, if David texted me right now, this very second, and asked me to leave with him, I'd be out of here so fast. I would leave Mike instantly. Her friends erupted in laughter. It was a sharp, cruel sound, and they found it hilarious, the ultimate roast. I didn't react, I didn't get angry. I just smiled, a calm, neutral smile. I looked at her and said, be careful what you wish for. She laughed again, basking in the attention. Oh, please. As if that would ever happen. The conversation moved on, but I had what I needed, the final, clear proof. The breaking point had come. It was time to put my plan into action. We got home around 1 a.m. Sarah was still giddy from the party. She kicked off her shoes and immediately passed out on the bed. I told her I was going to stay up for a bit. She didn't care. As soon as the bedroom door closed, I went to my desk, pulled out the burner phone, looked up David's number, which I had saved from an old group chat, and using a simple app, spoofed his number. It took about 5 minutes. Then I composed the text. It needed to be simple and believable. Hey, it's David. I know this is random, but Chloe told me she saw you, and I can't stop thinking about you. I miss you. Are you up? I sent the text to Sarah's phone. Then I turned on the living room security camera feed on my second monitor, put on my headphones, and waited. The trap was set. Update 1. I've always been patient. I can wait for the right moment. For the next hour, I played some music and browsed the internet. The security camera feed was a small silent window in the corner of my screen. At around 2:15 a.m., the bedroom door opened. Sarah crept out, phone clutched in her hand, its screen a bright light in the dark apartment. She was biting her lip, nervous energy radiating off her. She didn't even look in my direction, thinking I was lost in my own world with my headphones on, oblivious. The camera, perfectly positioned, captured the entire scene. She stood by the front door, typing furiously on her phone. A few minutes later, a giddy, triumphant smile spread across her face. She checked her phone one more time, then turned and crept back into the bedroom. 5 minutes later, she re-emerged, now dressed in jeans and a sweater. She carried her main purse and a small duffel bag she always used for weekend trips. Moving with quiet urgency, her eyes darted towards me at my desk. I didn't move, I just kept my gaze on my screen. She slipped on her shoes, took one last look around the apartment that was no longer hers, and quietly let herself out the front door. As soon as the door clicked shut, I took off my headphones. The show was over. I saved the security camera footage, a crystal-clear 2-minute video of my girlfriend receiving a text, getting dressed, packing a bag, and sneaking out of our apartment in the middle of the night, onto a secure, encrypted drive. Then came the cleanup phase. First, I double-bolted the door from the inside. Then I tackled her digital life. I logged her out of every streaming service, changed the password for our shared Wi-Fi, and logged into the bank's website. I paid off the small balance on the joint credit card, then removed her as an authorized user. Next, I focused on her physical possessions. I didn't want a long, drawn-out process of her coming back multiple times. I wanted a clean break. I retrieved the stack of moving boxes I had bought a month ago as part of my contingency plan. For the next 3 hours, I packed away her life, every piece of clothing, every shoe, every book, every framed photo. I was a machine devoid of emotion, simply executing a task. By the time the sun began to rise, our apartment, my apartment, was completely free of her presence. A neat stack of 27 labeled boxes stood by the front door. At 6 a.m., I took the burner phone, snapped it in half, and disposed of it in an electronics recycling bin on my way to the gym. The operation was complete. The first contact came at 7:32 a.m. It was a text, "Where are you?" "I'm at the coffee shop we used to go to. I've been waiting for an hour." It was from David, the real David. Sarah had clearly texted him from her own phone after leaving, telling him where to meet her. The poor guy must have woken up to a very confusing message. I screenshotted it and saved it. The real fireworks began around 9 a.m., when Sarah must have finally given up on her ghost lover and returned home. My phone started ringing incessantly. I ignored it. Then came the texts, a torrent of confusion, followed by rage and panic. "Mike, my key isn't working. What's going on? Answer your phone. This isn't funny. I can hear you inside. Open the door. I swear to God, if you don't let me in, I'm calling the cops." I finally picked up, not saying a word. "Mike," she shrieked. "What is happening? Let me in." "No," I replied calmly. "What do you mean no? It's my home." "No, it's not," I corrected her. "It's my apartment. You're not on the lease, and as of about 7 hours ago, you don't live here anymore." There was stunned silence on the other end. "What? What are you talking about?" "I saw you," I said, my voice icy. "I saw you get a text. I saw you pack a bag. I saw you sneak out in the middle of the night to meet your ex-boyfriend, the same ex-boyfriend you swore was just a friend. The same ex-boyfriend you joked about leaving me for just a few hours ago." "You were awake?" she whispered, panic evident in her voice. I lied. "I saw it all. You made your choice, Sarah. You wanted to leave me for him instantly, so you did. The only problem is he apparently didn't want you back. That's a you problem, not a me problem." "It was a mistake," she cried. "I don't know what I was thinking. Please let me in. We can talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about," I said. "Your belongings are packed. They're in 27 boxes by the front door. I've hired a moving service to pick them up at noon and deliver them to your parents' house. I suggest you go there and wait for them. Goodbye, Sarah." I hung up before she could respond and blocked her number. I looked around my apartment. It was quiet. It was peaceful. It was mine. Update 2. I knew there would be fallout. When you make a big move, there are always ripples. The first phase was the delivery of her things. The movers I hired were professionals. They arrived at noon sharp, loaded up the 27 boxes, and drove them to her parents' home. I received a text from the lead mover at 1:15 p.m., "Delivery complete. Homeowner signed for it." I was sure she wasn't happy. The second phase was the smear campaign, launched with military precision. By that evening, my social media was a battleground. Her friends, led by Chloe, unleashed a barrage of posts. They didn't name me, of course, they were too clever for that. Instead, they talked about their brave, beautiful friend who had just escaped a toxic, controlling relationship. They spoke of psychological manipulation and tech-savvy abusers who create elaborate traps. The narrative was that I, the jealous and insecure boyfriend, had set her up over a harmless joke and then cruelly threw her out, proving I was the monster she always feared I was. It was a brilliant piece of revisionist history, and for a few days, it worked. I received angry messages from mutual acquaintances, unfriended by people who had only heard her side of the story. They tried to isolate me, painting me as the villain in a story where she was the sole victim. But they made a critical mistake. They assumed I would fight them on their battlefield of emotional, dramatic social media posts. I don't engage in battles with drama. I fight with facts. I waited until their campaign peaked. On Wednesday, Sarah herself posted a long, tearful survivor story on her Instagram. She talked about the suffocating pressure of being with someone who didn't trust her and the terrifying night she was unceremoniously discarded over a misunderstanding. It received hundreds of likes and sympathetic comments. That was the signal I had been waiting for. I revisited my evidence file, which included the screenshot of the real David's confused text message. And of course, I had the high-definition, undeniable video of her actions. I created a simple private web page on a personal server, protected by a password. The page had a clean layout with the title, "The Truth About Last Friday Night." Below that, I embedded the 2-minute security camera video. Under the video, I included the screenshot of the real David's text message. At the bottom, I wrote a single paragraph: "This is the reality of what happened. This was not a misunderstanding. This was a choice to act on a long-held desire, proven by the immediate and joyful reaction to a text message believed to be from an ex-boyfriend. This was a choice to pack a bag and sneak out in the middle of the night to meet another man. The subsequent story of abuse and control is a fabrication designed to hide the shame of a failed affair. I will not engage in a public debate. The truth speaks for itself." I then sent a single email to 3 people: Sarah's mother, her father, and Chloe, her best friend and chief supporter. The subject line was "The Truth." The body of the email contained only the link to the private web page and the password. The effect was instantaneous and absolute. It was like pouring a bucket of cold, hard reality onto their fire of lies. Final update. It's been about 5 months. The silence from Sarah and her friends has been complete. The private web page I created acted as a kill switch for their entire narrative. There's no arguing with video evidence of your own gleeful betrayal. I found out through the grapevine what happened after I sent that email. Her parents, who had been bankrolling her victim tour and fueling her outrage, were horrified and deeply embarrassed. They saw the video of their daughter giddy with excitement, packing a bag to cheat on the man who had supported her. They saw the proof that her entire story was false. Reportedly, her financial support was cut back dramatically, and they told her to grow up and deal with the consequences of her actions. Chloe, the loyal best friend, went completely silent. The online cheering stopped. The crusade for her abused friend ended. It's hard to be a social justice warrior when you have concrete proof that the person you're defending is a liar. The most satisfying fallout came from David, the ex annoyed at being the ghost in our relationship and now being dragged into the public drama. He posted a single clarifying statement on his Facebook page: "To be crystal clear, I have not been in contact with Sarah for over a year. I am in a happy committed relationship. I did not text her, and I have no interest in her life. Please respect my privacy." He effectively confirmed his part of the story and repudiated her entirely. It was a final public nail in the coffin of her victim narrative. From what I hear, Sarah's life has unraveled. Without my financial support and with her parents reining her in, she had to get a second job. She's working constantly, living in a small apartment with 2 roommates. Her glamorous, drama-filled life has been replaced by the quiet, grinding reality of adult responsibility. She got exactly what she deserved: a life based on her own choices, not one subsidized by a man she didn't respect. As for me, I'm doing well, more than well. The apartment feels like a sanctuary now, a place of peace and order. I've thrown myself into my work and have been doing really well. I'm dating casually. I met someone new, a teacher. Our conversations are about real things and building a future, not just maintaining appearances. It's the most refreshing relationship I've ever had. The ultimate revenge wasn't the text message trap or packing her things or sending the video. The ultimate revenge was refusing to play her game. She wanted a chaotic, emotional, dramatic fight. She wanted to be the victim in a grand, tragic story. I gave her none of it. I gave her quiet, inescapable truth. I presented her with evidence of her decisions and let it speak for itself. She tried to drag me into the mud of her making, but I refused to go. I stayed on solid ground and watched her sink. She joked about leaving me instantly, but in the end, I was the one who left her instantly and irrevocably in the past. My future is a system that is finally running without errors.